hours of bullshit one believed. Palmer homed in on those distant grumbling sounds and thought of his father. His opinion of his dad shifted, like the dunes. He sometimes counted him a coward for leaving in the night. He sometimes reckoned him a bold son of a bitch for setting off into no man's land. There was something to be said for anyone who would venture into a place from where no soul had ever returned. Something less polite could be said about an asshole who could walk out on his wife and 4 kids to do so. There was a break in the steep dune to the west, an opening in the sand that revealed a wide patch of star-studded sky. Palmer scanned the heavens, eager to dwell on something besides his father. The ridgeline of the impassable stone mountains could be seen even in the moon's absence. Their jagged and daunting edge was marked by a black void, where constellations suddenly ended. Someone grabbed Palmer's elbow. He turned to find that Hap had fallen back to join him. His friend's face was underlit by the dive light dangling from his neck, set to dim. "You aiming for the strong and silent type?" Hap hissed, his voice muffled by cur and wind. Palmer hitched his heavy dive pack up his shoulders, could feel the sweat trapped between his shirt and the canvas sack. "I'm not aiming for anything," he said. "Just lost in thought." "All right. Well, feel free to cut up with the others, huh? I don't want them thinking you're some kind of psycho or nothing." Palmer laughed. He glanced over his shoulder to see how far behind the next guy was and which way the wind was carrying their words. "Really?" he asked. "Because that'd be kind of boss, don't you think?" Hap seemed to mull this over. He grunted. Was probably upset he hadn't come up with it first. "You're sure we're gonna get paid for this dive?" Palmer asked, keeping his voice down. He fought the urge to dig after the sand in his ear, knowing it would just make it worse. "I don't want to get stiffed like last time." "Fuck no. These guys have a certain code." Hap slapped him on the back of the neck, sand and sweat mixing to mud. "Relax, Your Highness. We're gonna get paid. A quick dive, some sand in our lungs, and we'll be sipping iced drinks at the honey hole by Sunday. Hell, I might even get a lap dance from your mom." "Fuck off," Palmer said, knocking his friend's arm away. Hap laughed. He slapped Palmer again and slowed his pace to share another joke about Palmer's mom with the others. Palmer had heard it before. It got less funny and grew more barbs every time. He walked alone in silence, thoughts flitting to his wreck of a family. The sweat on the back of his neck cooling in the breeze as it gathered sand. That iced drink at the honey hole not sounding all that bad, to be honest. 2. The Belt of the Gods. They arrived at the camp to find a tall fire burning, its beating glow rising over the dunes and guiding the men home in a dance of shadows. There were manly reunions of slapped backs and shoulders held, sand flying off with each violent embrace. The men stroked their long beards and swapped gossip and jokes as though they'd been apart for some time. Packs were dropped to the ground, canteens topped from a barrel. The 2 young divers were told to wait by the fire as some of the others ambled toward a gathering of tents nestled between steep dunes. Palmer was thankful for the chance to sit. He shrugged off his dive pack and arranged it carefully by the fire. Folding his aching legs beneath him, he sat and leaned against the pack and enjoyed the flickering warmth of the burning logs. Hap settled down by the fire with 2 of the men he'd been chatting with during the hike. Palmer listened to them argue and laugh while he gazed into the fire, watching the logs burn. He thought of his home in Springston, where it would be a crime to fell a tree and light it on fire, where coals of hardened shit warmed and stunk up homes, where piped gas would burn one day but then silently snuff out a family in their sleep the next. In the wastes, such things didn't matter. The scattered groves were there to be raised, the occasional animal to be eaten. Bubbling springs lapped up until they were dry. Palmer wiggled closer to the flames and held out his palms. The sweat from the hike, the breeze, the thoughts of home had turned him cold. He smiled at an eruption of voices that bravely leapt through the tall flames. He laughed when the others laughed, and when his twisting stomach made noises, he lied and said it was because he was hungry. The truth was that he had a very bad feeling about this job. To start with, he didn't know any of these men, and his sister had warned him of the savages he did know, much less those